Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am Chris Whitt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. Producer, you were a little slow today on the 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Go.
The old Wayne's World countdown.
I always think of it that way.
Yep. 5, 4.
You didn't say 2 or 1.
2 or 1.
Classic.
So good. What a great movie. Speaking of great movies, have you seen the new Barbie movie yet?
The new Barbie movie, I have not.
No? Are you going?
I've seen the new Little Mermaid, but I've not seen the new.
The kids saw the Little Mermaid, but I have not.
I saw the Little Mermaid. It was
Was
nice.
it good?
Yeah.
The girl on that is the Little Mermaid is sisters. She's got a sister, and they're in a little singing group,
Is that right?
signed by Beyonce. And they were on Wild 'N Out one time.
Is that right?
They were really good. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
She probably knows the 85 South Boys then.
Oh, she 100% knows the 85 South Boys. She was on there with them.
Nice.
Yep.
Does she have one of Nick Cannon's kids or anything like that?
No.
I feel like if you're on the show, you're automatically there's a good chance you're gonna have one of his.
I don't know that he's got kids with any Wild 'N Out girls.
That's smart because
Yeah,
then you got to see him all the time.
Don't mix business with pleasure. You know what I mean? Don't mix business with pleasure.
Do where you eat or whatever.
That's right. That's right. So that one, we just heard that today. No, I heard that today. I was watching the American Gladiators documentary that's on Netflix now.
Oh, I watched it. Yeah.
Okay. So and that was one of the things that the director said, you don't do where you eat. And I was like, how does that sound like have relations with someone that you work with? I would never call that dropping a deuce where you eat.
But that's how the saying is used most often, I feel like.
I feel 100%. You're definitely right.
You ever dated someone that you worked with?
Have I ever dated someone that I worked with?
Or someone you saw all the time, like not in a...
Nope. Never
Smart
did.
man.
Never
Smart
did.
man.
Never did.
Made that mistake a few times when I was younger.
Yeah. Yep. I remember one. Adam, we got a big podcast today, bud. We've got the largest, the Mount Rushmore of tall wrestler, big giants in wrestling. Did we decide?
Be used a lot.
Did we decide how we were doing it? Like was it 6'10" or bigger, or was it just someone who is a giant?
I wrote down
Like
6'9".
Okay, 6'9" is what we did.
I think we said 6'9".
I thought it was 6'9" or 6'10". So 6'9" or bigger. Because I think we looked up Scott Hall and he was like 6'7", and Kevin Nash was like 6'10", and we said let's go 6'9".
That's right.
I feel like that's where we went. Because Scott Hall, I mean, I almost said Steve Nash. Caught myself. Did you see that? Caught myself.
Good progression, buddy.
Yeah. So Scott Hall was a huge dude. He was tall, but he wasn't a giant, right?
When he stood next to Kevin Nash.
I'll let you do it because I may have already said it once and not even know it.
Didn't.
I was surprised to see that Braun Strowman is only 6'8". I thought he was for sure big enough to be a giant because that dude right now is a monster. Monster.
It's funny because some of the other guys that you think of as huge guys aren't on that list because they don't hit the 6'9" mark. But if you decide you want to throw because I think I mentioned guys like Yokozuna and stuff like that. Earthquake. They were huge guys, and maybe they were
Typhoon
6'4", 6'6", something like that. Didn't hit the mark. Not on the list.
Adrian Adonis. He was 6'4", probably something like that.
Oh yeah.
You remember him?
Yes. Yeah.
He was one of my. So he's one of the. He's on the newest season of Dark Side of the Ring.
Is that right?
Yeah, the Adrian Adonis story.
Watching that, I keep
bro. It's season 4, and I like it's every Tuesday night, and I'm hooked.
I've got a. What is it on again? It's on something. I don't.
It's on.
No, it's on A&E, right?
No. It's on Vice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on Vice.
Check and see if I have Vice. I don't think I do. But I got to do that.
I
got to find the old ones and catch up.
So we also got some Reds. We've got the All-Star game the other night. The NBA draft. The NBA draft went down a while ago, I guess, before. But they just started the summer league, and the number 1 draft pick, Victor. I'm going to give this a go. Wembanyama.
That's perfect.
I feel like that was really good. I always try to put an N for that last M and go Victor Wembanyama, but it's Wembanyama.
I feel like it's easy to do. You want
Yeah.
to throw an extra N on the
I
end
have
of
to
it.
I have to concentrate on that Wembanyama.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
Yamaha.
Split it into two words.
Yamaha. I'm gonna start calling him Yamaha.
Yamaha.
Nobody knows what they just call him Wemby. I don't like Wemby.
Yeah.
It sounds like Gumby.
Think of him as
Although he is stretch. So
if he can play the keyboard and ride a crotch rocket,
absolutely.
that Yamaha definitely fits.
Yes. Yes. You're exactly right. Yes, you're exactly right. Yama. Who used to do that?
That was a comedian, right?
Is that a comedian
I
that did
feel
the
like
sound
that.
of motorcycles?
Yeah.
What they sounded like
don't
is their
remember the one.
names. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Then we also have Tom Segura's newest special came out, and we are going to talk about that. Very excited to hear your thoughts on that because I know you were very pumped up for it.
Yes,
but
I was.
to start this podcast, let's go ahead and get into what we do every week. Somehow now we're into about 57 weeks of new types of Reese's. So Adam he's got the cooler out again, bro. When the cooler comes out, something is frozen. Do we have the other flavor?
I'm excited about Reese's.
Let's go.
That only makes sense if you watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
We got
the other one.
Last week we did the Reese's ice cream cone, the chocolate.
This
one is the peanut butter.
Yes, let's go peanut
Reese's
butter. All
peanut
right.
butter
Reese's
ice cream cone.
Peanut butter ice cream cone. Now the chocolate ice cream cone had a giant peanut butter clump in the middle of it,
which is my favorite part.
So very interested in what will be in the center of this one. As we get ourselves situated here, Adam, while we eat Reese's and we decide what we're going to rate them.
Coming through with the garbage bag. That's huge.
Yes. We got to figure out what our first topic of the day has got to be the Cincinnati Reds. The All-Star Game just happened. So maybe before we go into the Reds, maybe we start out. The All-Star Game happened. Did you watch any of the All-Star Game?
I saw a couple of half innings and then I had to turn it off and work on homework. But I kept up and I followed on the game day on the MLB app. The last inning.
Okay. Wow, how much fun that last inning was. Insane.
After I saw that I already forgot his name from the Rockies that hit the home run to go ahead in the 8th inning, turned it on the game day, and then the American League put a couple guys on, and it got exciting. And I was hoping, because I didn't know yet until I turned it on game day whether Alexis Diaz pitched or not. I was hoping they would save him and make him the closer.
Nope.
He pitched in the 6th inning and looked like he didn't do too well.
No, he was up for the loss until the home run came through.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I'm rooting for the National League, 9 straight losses. Rooting for the National League big time because we are Reds fans. And in the bottom of the 9th inning, I looked at my son while we were watching it and I said, Parker, for this one at bat, I am rooting for the American League. Julio Rodriguez steps up with the tying run on first base. He's the winning run. Craig Kimbrell's struggling a little bit. In Seattle, J-Rod's up. I was like, it's made for this moment for him to hit this bomb. He didn't hit it, and then I immediately went back to, all right, Kimbrell, it's time to throw a strike.
I thought about that too. I thought about that too while I was following along. Yeah, that would have been cool. I would have been okay if they won on a home run like that. Anyway, yes. So I didn't get to see a whole lot of it, but I did follow enough of it to know what happened. Anything besides the home run that went ahead and the kind of excitement of that part that we just talked about, anything else happened during the game that I didn't get to see that you think stuck out?
Right off the bat, first inning, National League's up to bat. Garrett Cole's the starting pitcher. And there's a bomb to right field that the Garcia kid from Texas jumps up and dives into the wall basically to make the play. Next batter, Arozarena makes a jumping diving catch into the wall to save a double or triple or whatever. Like back-to-back unbelievable plays to start the game was kind of cool. And Garcia and Arozarena came up together in the Cardinals organization. Really good friends. Found this out during the home run derby because they went against each other in the home run derby. And they one of them is the godfather to the other's child.
Very cool.
Super close. And they got to hit against each other there. And then they're opposite ends. And after Arozarena makes the catch after that, he looks over in the right field and does a little stunting and, all that good stuff.
Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
One of the fun things in the All-Star game is they mic the players up who are playing in the field during the game while they're playing.
Yep.
That's kind of a fun thing. I think we talked about that after the first time they did that. And I think I was like, I don't know, man. It's, it's in the middle of the game. Don't distract the guy or whatever. I've come to like it now. And now I don't remember that they did this before. Maybe they did, but they talked to a pitcher while he was pitching this time.
Twice.
So I saw a video of it. I didn't see it live, but I saw like a video.
The one, they had the batter mic'd up and the pitcher, and they could hear each other.
Oh,
that was fun. Wasn't a lot of conversation.
So I didn't hear that one.
It was quick, but that was interesting as well.
I don't remember who was pitching when I saw that, but to like for him to, and he was kind of like talking a little lower, and
dude, Josh Hader was talking as he was throwing the pitch. I was like, take a deep breath, man.
I know it was not Josh Hader that I saw.
It was like, they weren't like asking him to do it, but he works kind of quick. And they ask him a question as he's walking back to the mound, and he gets right on the mound and he answers it as he's going into his motion and like finishing his word right as the pitch is coming out of his mouth. I was like, dude, take a deep breath. Pause, answer the question, man.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And since it's those guys compete, and that's I'm sure we talked about this before too. The baseball All-Star game is the best one because you can't dog it as much. Like those guys probably aren't, as locked. They're certainly not as locked in as they are in a regular game, but you still have to go up there and try to hit, like you're still getting a ball thrown 98 at you, and you're still trying to strike a guy. You're still trying to get outs because that's how the game progresses. You can't, you can't win. And even if you don't care about winning, you got to get outs to get out and go bat. Right. So you have to still, you're kind of forced to compete a little bit more than some of the other games.
And I think it's different in baseball too, because like in basketball, showing off with threes and dunking and all that stuff, you show off for your peers. Well, to show off for your peers in baseball, you're doing it on both ends of the court or of the floor, right? So your pitcher is trying to show that look, bro, I'm in the All-Star game. You're the best of the best. He is focused because that's his way of showing off his talent. He gets beat up, and now, that's no good for him. The defense, there was some unbelievable defensive plays in the All-Star game. And those were probably talked about more than any offensive plays. You know what I mean? So, and then you got this kid for Florida, Arias, I can't remember his name exactly how to say his name, who's creeping up on 400, right? He's hitting 489, I think,
Luis
right
Arraez,
now.
Yeah.
Arraez. And he goes 2 for 2. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to see. That's so cool. So it was, that's why I think baseball's a little different, because it's more one-on-one. You know what I mean? You get that. It's the defense isn't like the defense in the NFL, or not like the defense in Major League Baseball. Like, maybe in a Pro Bowl, the cornerbacks are really locked in, but outside of them, who's really locked in? You know what I mean? In defense, in baseball, it means little. It seems like it means more to the players, and it's in the middle of the season. I guess the NBA is in the middle of the season too.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's a lot of fun. It was a good game. Adam, before we go any further on that, Reese's peanut butter ice cream cone is done.
Yep.
Or at least it's done for me. I don't think it was as good as the chocolate.
I agree with you.
I'm bummed out. I'm going to go with like an 8.7.
8.7.
I mean, I would eat it again.
Sure. It just tasted like an ice cream cone to me.
Yeah.
It didn't have any special
very little
Reese's
peanut butter
flavors. Yeah. It didn't taste like peanut butter to me. Yeah, I'm totally on the same page there. Good ice cream cone, but it was just an ice cream cone.
Can we talk about something real quick, Adam?
Yeah, we can.
I came back from Columbus from work, stopped and had dinner with the family at a restaurant.
Beautiful.
Got home a little later than normal. My receding hairline is legit. If you were watching this on YouTube, this thing is really, really creeping back there. I mean,
Really?
oh my God, look at that, dude. Look at this. Look how deep that goes. From my eyebrow to the top, that far. Let me show you where yours is. Yours is that far. It's half of yours is half of my hairline.
I'm a wolf.
Your hairline is half of my hairline. That thing is, as I look at this, because I part my hair on the side, I always wear a hat, but at work, I don't wear a hat. And man, oh man, really getting it going. Got the taco meat out today.
That's cute.
Looking good.
That
Looking good. Yeah.
You ever talk to your boss about maybe getting a Fall City hat that you can wear?
I haven't, but there's a guy that in the winter wears like the Peaky Blind. You didn't see you never watch Peaky Blinders, but the
flat,
old golf hat. Yeah, that's got the button in the front. Yep. He wears that all winter. He wears that when he goes from place to place. And I mean, he's 60 some years old, 70 years old. Part of me wants to, actually, he's probably in his 70s. Part of me wants to adopt that look. There is one vendor out in my world that wears a pair. Well, he just retired, but for the last 5 years, he didn't care. He wore a pair of slacks. He wore a golf shirt untucked, and he wore a golf hat every single day.
Really?
Just a golf hat every day. And he loved golf. He golfed in 3 different golf leagues, and I'm pretty sure that he wore that. So in the middle of the day, if he decided he wanted to golf instead of work, he'd just go do it.
So you could get away with that if you wanted to.
I can get away with anything I want, but you want to put on a level of professionalism.
You gotta look. Yeah. You gotta look presentable.
I mean, people that did my job just 30 years ago were wearing a suit and tie. And then the jacket went away, and then the tie went away, and there was button-up shirts up until maybe 10, 15 years ago. Mm. And I still try to wear a button-up shirt half the time, but the polo shirt is just where it's at now. Everything's getting way more casual.
Yeah. You see that in coaching and basketball coaching too.
Oh my God. That big time.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, we didn't plan on this, but how about Bob Huggins first of all, we talked about his faux pas on the which is a nice term for what he said on 700 WLW on Bill Cunningham's show.
Mm-hmm.
Did we even talk about after he got another DUI?
He got another DUI, gets fired or resigned. They said that he resigned. He has now come out and said, "Oh no, wait, I want my job back. I never resigned." Okay, Bob, you're just forcing them to say you got fired.
Yeah.
Bro, you're done. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. He's 70. What is he? He's got to be 70.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
71, 70. Dude, you're done, bud. Mm-hmm. You've made plenty of money. Drift off into the sunset. Find a bar stool in a West Virginia bar and have them put your name on it and live there for the next 2 years until you die.
He'll drink.
You were just going to say he's going to drink himself to death, didn't you?
No, I was going to say he'll drink for free forever in West Virginia.
100% until he dies in 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't want Bob Huggins to die. I don't want that. It just feels like that's the thought process, right? That's what's going to happen to a guy like him.
It does feel that way. Whether it's nice or not to talk about that, it does. It just feels that way. It does. One quick thing. Do you remember what you said that your score was for Reese's for this ice cream cone?
8-7.
8-7. I already forgot. 2 seconds after you said it.
Man, I'll tell you what, we've got the camera a little farther away than normal today, and really accentuating the tummy right there.
I mean, it is
into my I've got boob jiggle when I touch my stomach. Jeez. How do I touch my stomach and get boob jiggle?
Your shirt is moving. What are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure there's something making my shirt move. Sorry.
You got to watch on YouTube,
Yes,
everybody.
if you're watching on YouTube, you'll understand what I'm talking. You get to see all of this manly goodness.
Speaking of manly goodness, we kind of started talking about the Reds and went right into the All-Star game. Let's jump back to the Reds and really get to talk about this because shortly before the All-Star break,
Saturday,
Elly De La Cruz had he's this electric guy. He's already doing national commercials and everything.
Oh, they're talking about why didn't the commissioner exempt him onto the All-Star team?
That's an interesting thing. Should we talk about that?
We can. Do you want to? Because he's
Yeah.
only done it once. The commissioner has only used this rule, his ability one time, and it was, I believe, last year with Miguel Cabrera.
Okay.
It's the only time he's ever done it. But he has the ability to place anyone on the All-Star team. And I'll let you say. What do you think? Do you think he should have put Elly De La Cruz in this game?
100%. Of course not. Of course
The
not.
guy played 3
That's
weeks, 2
insane.
weeks of base, 3 weeks of baseball. Yeah. Is he electric? Yes. And they asked him to be in the home run derby. And you know, whatever. I'm glad they asked him. I would have said the exact same thing. No,
And I'm glad he didn't do it.
yeah, I'm
It
glad
would have
he
been
didn't do
so
it.
fun to watch.
You were going
glad
to
he
get to
didn't
see Elly De La Cruz in plenty of All-Star games.
Yep.
Plenty of All-Star games. Enjoy it. This year, you let it happen.
You can't put a guy in because he's having a great 3 weeks
No.
and he's really exciting. Who's the kid in Pittsburgh? He started like that.
Yeah. I
what's
mean,
his name?
how about the Punisher? Had one of the greatest months in all of baseball history. What was his name
The Punisher?
for the Reds? They called him the
Oh.
Punisher. He had that
Oh.
September or August where he broke the record for home runs in a month of September or August.
And then he hit 210 for the rest of his for the next 2
and
years.
struck out
part-time.
420 times
And
in the
he's
past
not
year and a half.
in the organization anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. That's
and
how
it was
great it was.
just this like off
It
season.
was like 3 years ago. It's 3 years ago when he had that breakout
yeah.
month. But yeah.
So obviously he's fun to watch. Cincinnati's so excited about him. They're excited about the Reds. They're selling games out now.
Dude, the Friday, the first game back, the entire upper deck is sold out.
Oh, wow. This coming Friday for
Almost, maybe not the entire, it's close to the entire. I mean, it's like this game, it's legit. They're going to sell, I bet they sell 35 to 40,000 tickets.
well,
It holds 56, right? Something like that, 54.
I thought it was about 42 or something
Okay,
like that,
maybe
but
I'm wrong.
it's mid 40s maybe. But Friday and Saturday games should be selling out pretty much all summer. And then, that might drop off a little bit although Friday and Saturday games probably still should.
Probably
but
still will, but the day
when kids
game,
go back to school or whatever, maybe it'll drop off a little bit, weeknight games. But people are really excited now about the Reds. And how about is Bobby Nightingale Jr. the unluckiest
It's
beat
no joke.
reporter in the history of baseball?
He came to the Reds after they had their playoff season, which was really, I mean, they were not great. Goes through 3 years of the worst baseball I've seen. Goes to Minnesota, and the Reds literally 2 weeks after he leaves go on a 20-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Or 12 or 15 or whatever.
They've won 18 out of 22 or something like that. But poor guy. Anyway, it is really exciting. And so Elly De La Cruz is this special player. They're talking about him on all the national shows and everything. And especially after that game
Saturday night.
night.
So when he listens to the podcast, he's been on here before, not on the podcast, but he's been in our mentions. What's it called? In the comments.
Mhm.
He asked to see my plaque. That shows that, this says to a special player for stealing home 3 times in a single season. He asked to see it because he didn't believe it. And he said he wants to try to do something like that. So on Saturday, he stole home for the first time this season. He stole 3 bases in 2 pitches. He stole 3 bases in less than 90 seconds.
It's so fun.
Is that the? I mean, that's legit. That's real life. That happened.
After it happened, I was following that game on game day as well when it
Oh,
happened.
dude, you didn't see it live?
Didn't see it live. And then, but 10 minutes after it happened, I jump on Instagram. It's everything I swipe up. The next thing is somebody posted
Elly.
that video.
There's
next thing-
pictures from above. Have you seen the pictures from
That
above?
that one picture is unbelievable.
I didn't know the Reds had a camera there.
I know. It seemed like it would be like a drone or something, but it's a guy it's a photographer from the Associated Press, I think they said, or something.
Well, how can he have taken that picture from directly above home plate like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it was because they have the camera well kind of on that middle deck coming off of it. Kind of
Yeah, but
there,
the
but it's
picture is
not.
literally looking down over top of home plate and seeing him sliding in.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the same picture, which I'm
Yeah.
sure we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like it's a crazy angle, like you would just be floating in the air above above home plate.
So I got to. So you've seen it then.
I have.
You saw it. So steal second. No, when he stole second, I was sitting at my brother-in-law's house. We're getting ready to go to dinner. And another couple was there too. So the three men were sitting there. We're watching the game. Me and my brother-in-law are in the kitchen looking into the living room, and the other guy's in the living room. He steals second, and I look up and I was like, I literally said, that third baseman is nowhere near the base. And I was thinking he was going to take off the third after he stole second. And because he jumps up and he kind of looked at it, like he thought about it. That's what's in this dude's head all the time. I get to the next base? It's 5 strides. It's 5 steps.
I was going to say, this guy is 30 feet closer to the bag than I am.
Yes.
And I can still beat him.
And I can still beat him there. And it's not a joke because he gets 2 steps before the guy realizes he's moving. And then the guy has to run to the base and try to catch the ball. All right. So I'm like, I think he might, and I kind of something to that effect. And we're sitting there watching it. I thought he was going then. He steals third easily. The third baseman didn't even move because he was like, it's not like I can't do anything.
But why wouldn't he anticipate a steal on that? Why wouldn't he play closer to the bag?
Well, they had a shift on. So he's playing way far away from the bag already. Okay. Which for when Elly De La Cruz is on the base, now people are going to know that. Like people are going to know that, right? It's still not a move that a lot of guys are going to run and do. But when you got a guy like De La Cruz that just has the green light, whenever he wants to run anywhere he wants, he gets it. He goes to third. The guy at third is just like, geez, doesn't even move, stands there. De La Cruz rounds it right away. He immediately rounded the base. Mm-hmm. He takes his helmet off and kind of adjusts his hair. I don't know if that was part of the deke. The one guy goes, did you see that? He was deking him with that. And I was like, I don't know if that was part of a deke or not, because he never stopped walking. He goes in third and immediately starts walking down the line. And the reaction of the third, so they're showing the third baseman in real time. They're showing the third baseman. They show him, he's creeping down the line. I was like, he's looking at it. I literally said, he's looking at it. Puts his helmet on. They show the third baseman because they're talking about how he had no chance of getting to the base. And the third baseman just lifts his glove up and is pointing at home. Like, what is going on?
And the pitcher had turned his back and kind of walked to the back.
Right, but in real time, you don't see that. Yeah. In real time, they switch over to that third baseman because they're talking about how he was nowhere near the base. And all you see is him point up. And you don't even have to know what's going on. You just see that third baseman pointing home like, what? And we're jumping, going nuts. He was safe by a mile. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even close.
He dropped because he threw the ball away.
Well, but even if that ball would have been caught, he still was safe by a mile. He could have ran through home instead of sliding, but could have.
It was one of the most exciting baseball plays I've seen.
So he's got one. He's got one this year.
So I
would be impressed if he stole home 3 times in his career. I mean, that's impressive, right? I mean, nobody can do. I mean, it's, without patting my back, we're saying it, yeah, go ahead. Not a lot of people can steal home 3 times in one season, let alone a season that's probably only like 25 games.
Mhm.
Like Chris Whitt did back in 1999 or 2000.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a while, but that speed ain't here anymore. I never had speed. Just anticipation. Anyway,
you had the brain.
I won 3 times in one season. 3 times in 25 games. We'll say that. 3 times in 25 games. I would be impressed if Elly could just do it 3 times in his career. If he could get on I would consider that being on my level.
After seeing the one that just happened, I won't be as impressed if he does it 3 times in his career.
It's the second time it's happened this year. Literally the day before he got called up, he played almost the exact same okey doke down in Louisville. Almost the exact same play. So technically, but I guess technically that's his second time this season. Technically.
But it's got to be in Major League Baseball.
Well, mine wasn't.
No, but it was in the highest level you could play. I mean, it was where it was in the league that you played in.
It was in the league that I played in, and Elly was in the league that he played in.
Well, he did it once in that league and once in another league.
So
That
I guess
doesn't count.
technically that doesn't count. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him.
You'll give him 2?
I'll give him 2. I'll give him 2. Elly, I know you've been wanting to come on the podcast, and we were waiting to make sure you weren't, a little one hit wonder out here, or a fluke. You get 3 bags of the plate. 3 bags of the plate. You know what I'm talking about. Steal 3 bags. You steal home 3 times. Same season. Just to time me. We'll put you on the podcast.
Yep. Meanwhile, keep listening, and we appreciate that.
Definitely do.
But yeah. So going to the rest of the team, right? Because we can't forget about all the other rookies on this team that have played really
he's not the best rookie on the team right now.
Right. He's one of
McLean is the best player on this team right now.
He's one of 4. I think it's I'm trying to remember.
You got Abbott, Steer, McLean, De La Cruz.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. There's somebody.
Benson.
Yeah. I'm trying to think though. There's somebody who's like leading rookie of the year, not voting, but like power rankings or whatever. And I can't think of who it is now. But after him, I just saw this last week. The next 4 guys on the power rankings of rookies to win rookie of the year, they're all Reds. They are all Reds.
And a Red will not win the rookie of the year this year. However, we are going to have 4 of the top 5 rookies in baseball.
That's awesome. And so here's my concern. I'm always that glass is pretty much empty now, but
yeah, it's all the way empty.
It's all the way empty. Yeah. And even if there was a little water in it, honestly, I would say it's all the way empty, because that's just the kind of guy I am, unfortunately. But now it's got some PP in it, but
it's Mountain Dew.
Excuse me. Yeah, PP.
The glass looks about half full to me.
A lot of air on top of that. Is it realistic to think that all the rookies on this team, even the guys there are some rookies that aren't in that, that aren't playing
I don't know about that. I think we've seen a good enough sample size. There's going to be the Major League Baseball players go in slumps. Yep. Everybody does. I mean, it's going to happen. But I think it's safe to say that they could outside of De La Cruz, the rest of them have been here most of the year. I think it's safe to say that what we see right now is pretty good indication who they are. That being said, sophomore slumps, that's a lot of people. There's a lot of tape on you now. There's a lot of statistics on you now. There's a lot of different measures. And look at Jonathan India last year. I mean, Jonathan India had a down year. He's struggling a little bit right now, but he was having a great year up until then. And I guess my point is I think when you have rookies that are this good, I think it's okay to say, yeah, we've got something here. Maybe we have a whole bunch of Jonathan Indias. I'm not saying that we've got a bunch of Mike Trouts, but maybe we got a bunch of Jonathan Indias, and a bunch of Jonathan Indias can win you a lot of games.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that fair? Fair enough answer to that?
Yeah. So sophomore slump, certainly as they keep getting at bats, I feel like the league is going to have more tape on them. Is going to catch up before the end of this year. And like you said, everybody, no matter how good Mike Trout he'll go 1 for 20 sometimes. Shohei Ohtani I don't know if he's ever had a slump, but he
I don't know that Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if there's anything Shohei Ohtani cannot do.
Yeah.
It's the most special player I've ever seen in my life. We'll talk about that later.
Those guys, okay, say they even maintain.
Is it realistic? Is it realistic to think that this can continue
through the rest of the year? Yeah, second half of the year, and we're a little bit more. It's really the last third of the season,
because it's the Cincinnati Reds, and because I live in Cincinnati, and because I've been a fan my whole life. My answer is yes. It's definitely realistic.
And I feel
all honesty, somebody's going to have a slump. Somebody's going to go through a slump. But the thing is you've got, it's a mentality, right? So if you play on a bad team and you go into a slump, there's nothing that really helps you get out of that, right? But when you
slump buster,
well, you can
ask Tracy Jones.
You can go get a slump buster, but yeah,
they don't always work, I guess.
I feel like it. I feel like you got to go through. You might have to go through a few before you find the actual slump buster.
Sure.
I feel like you might think you got a slump buster. Maybe you don't come out of the slump, and you're like, well, I just got to go back again. Just got to see if that wasn't the slump buster. Maybe I give me one tonight.
I'm sorry for bringing that up.
That's
all
okay.
Right. Continue, please.
But I don't even notice. Oh. But the difference is this team, the energy around this team is different. So it's hard if somebody is in a slump, you just don't know it. You just don't see it. Jonathan India is not playing. He's not having the best offensive month that somebody he would like to be having. But he hits a grand slam a couple nights ago. You know what I mean? It's not affecting these guys. It doesn't affect them the same way. When you get into a slump, you can just lose it. Joey Votto was 0 for 20, 0 for 21, but was hitting balls hard. And the whole time he's like, man, I'm hitting great right now. Just balls aren't falling. I'm hitting great. He comes out with another home run and then on base 4 times right after that. And then it's different. When you're winning, it's different when the club is playing this kind of baseball.
When the atmosphere is good on your team, it's going to be easier to come out of slumps or to handle them as you're going through them, right?
And in the clubhouse is always better when you're winning. Everything is better when you're winning. Everything is better when you're winning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now, quickly, the pitching. You have a couple of at least 2 key guys on the injured list: Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo.
Yep.
And those guys, from what I understand, should be coming back sometime in August. So still got at least a couple weeks without them. Once they get back, you'll have to kind of readjust your rotation again, figure out who's doing that, and then a couple of the guys who are in there right now, are they going to go to the bullpen? Are they going to be able to help the bullpen a little bit?
I don't know. For me, it's so easy for me to say, take this starting pitcher and throw him in the bullpen. He helped us for a while. He's throwing well. Put him in the bullpen. We've got we've got the best closer in baseball. We have maybe another guy that you can count on, but outside of that, it gets a little rough. Take one of these starters that has shown you they've been able to spot start for you, put them in the bullpen. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way anymore. Like it's just not that easy. The way these guys go through their their pregame, their what's it called? Like that repetition. What you call it? People always say, I tie my shoes the same way every time. It's my, what's that called? I hate this. I'm so terrible with words. Superstition. So you've got your superstitions that you do, right? You do certain things a certain way. That's not exactly what that is. It's not it's literally the way you prepare. And if you change the way you prepare yourself for a start, now in a bullpen, that changes the entire way you prepare to throw in a game. You're not going to be the same person. You're just not. It has nothing to do with how good you are. It has to do with, this is how I prepare for a start. You got an hour or two before a game that you start working through your whole preparation.
Your long
Whereas if you're a reliever, you're sitting on a bench in a bullpen waiting, and then boom, I got to go get ready. And you've got
getting a band and doing
maybe 5 minutes. And they do that all game. And that's not a joke. I'm going to tell you right now, the band thing, my team will have bands next year. And that's a legit thing. That's keeping your arm loose. It's also strengthening your arm. It's keeping yourself warm without putting the same strains on your arm as throwing. That's a legit thing.
I think it would be a good workout for them if the guys in the bullpen would just, I'm going to say something stupid. If they would just do an arm wrestling tournament during the game.
Yes.
I feel like that's a good strength exercise.
That's static, sure. Right? And they don't want static, right? What is it called when it's quick movements? Dynamic stretching, right? Yeah. Dynamic stretching and static stretching, right? You don't want static. The static lifting, that doesn't do you any good before you get ready. That's bigger strain. You want the dynamics, man. That gets you loose.
Yeah, loosen up.
Yeah,
loosen up. What was that one?
That's Jesus in Tom Segura's special.
Oh.
Sorry. I don't know if you remember that part or not, but his dad saw Jesus.
For some reason, I don't remember that part. But
hey, can I touch it? I see it as being blue. Sorry, we'll get into all that later.
All right. Reds are up 1 game. They're in first place. Brewers are a game back. They have the Brewers coming in to start this second portion of the season after the All-Star break. And then they play them. They probably play them again.
One more time. That's it. One more. Yeah. There's a total of 9 games, I think I want to say.
Okay.
That they had left before they started the last series.
It seems like,
and it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick.
Okay. All right.
I think it's all done by the time the first week in August is here.
So they lost the series. It was 2-1. They did get a game in Milwaukee. So it's going to be, in order to take, widen the gap a little bit between them and the Brewers and get a chance to really gain some games or go ahead or whatever, they're going to have to do that early.
Do you think they need, so they do need to do it early. So do you think the key to that at the trade deadline is starting pitching or relief pitching? With you got your 2 best starters not coming back for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm scared of that.
And they are patching this thing the best they can right now.
Yeah, and you know what? They're getting some decent starts.
They got beat up. They got both these first-time starters got beat up a little bit early on against the Brewers.
Okay, so I think you need another arm for the bullpen. I do. And I think it would be easier to acquire that than a good starting pitcher that's going to make a difference for you.
So you think it's a bullpen?
I do. It certainly wouldn't hurt to get another arm, because even when Green and Lodolo come back, you don't know if they're going to be, you don't know how they're going to be. I mean, they've had a lot of time off. They should be fresh, but they got to build their arm back up. They've got to get used to pitching again in games. And if they come out and struggle a little bit, both or either one of them, that's not going to do us any good. It'd be great to get those guys back, but they've got to be able to pitch well. And there were games that when they were healthy early in the year, they didn't pitch all that great. They were okay, but it's you have to get those guys back, and they have to be your 1-2 or maybe 2-3 or whatever, and they have to be able to perform that way. So getting another starter would be awesome, but that's going to cost you a lot. You're probably going to have to part with somebody that you don't want to, and you might be renting a guy for just the rest of this year.
Sure.
If you can keep patching the starting rotation up like you have been, and just get by enough to win games 5-4, 6-5, 7-5.
A lot of people think they should go into starting pitching. They need to get a starting pitcher. I'm with you. I think a reliever right now that you can put in front of Diaz and feel comfortable. You're so close. You're so close. Ashcraft, Abbott, Lodolo, Green, and then put a fifth starter in there.
Yeah. And I like, and he hasn't been back real long, but Lucas Sims has been back for the last few weeks too. And
he's pitched better since
I still like Lucas Sims a lot. So maybe you continue to get some good pitching from him, and hopefully Diaz stays the course, and the All-Star Game performance didn't break him. But yeah, it would be nice to have another arm, because other than those two guys, I don't know who you can really count on right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but we're going to find out. It's going to be really fun. It's fun to be almost 2/3 of the way through the season and be
in first place.
Position. Yeah.
You're in first place in the Central.
Yeah.
And we're and how many games above 500 are we? That's my favorite. 9,
50 and 41. Yeah.
Yeah. You're 10 games over 500. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
Keep it up, Redlegs.
Chris, let's talk about the Mount Rushmore of.
You want to go straight into the Mount Rushmore? Are you ready for the Mount Rushmore right now?
I am ready for the Mount Rushmore right now.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah.
There's something else you wanted to do.
I was trying to think. I feel like I was going to say something earlier, but I can't remember what it was. Let's do the Mount Rushmore of giants in wrestling. I'm going to let you go first, because I really want to talk about Tom Segura.
Okay. You're gonna get to talk about both.
I know, but I want to start the conversation about Tom Segura.
These are guys we decided 6'9" or above.
6 foot 9 inches, otherwise known as
giants.
117 inches.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna start. You know what? I'm gonna rank these in order.
Okay, rank them.
And I'm going to start with number 4. Number 4, I'm going to go with Kane.
Wow. Nice.
I'm going with Kane.
How tall was Kane?
Kane, it's funny you ask, because one website that I looked at had him 6'8".
Yeah, I saw the same thing.
2 more websites had him 7 feet.
Yeah. So that's what makes me think about Braun Strowman. Like, how tall really is Braun Strowman?
How can it be a 4-inch difference?
I have no idea.
I also saw the same for my my number 3. But anyway, I'm going Kane. It was, it was so cool when he came out, especially if it was in the middle of somebody else's match and he was coming to interfere and the lights just went out.
Black, and then he would pull his hands down and boom, red with fire on everything.
The pyrotechnics were always really cool.
Yes.
When he would come into the ring, and all 4 ring posts would fire up.
Yes.
It was very, very cool. And then they did the whole storyline with he was Undertaker's brother for a while or something.
Got burned.
Yeah.
Was lost in the burning rubble.
He was Fred Flintstone's neighbor and friend.
Barney Rubble. I get it.
I'm going with Kane.
Okay.
He was always neat to watch. Number 3, I'm going with a guy who was kind of like the only. He was like the first rival, I feel like, as far as being able to be almost a little comparable in size with the guy who's going to be number 1 on my list. But Big John Studd was big to me back in the day.
Yeah. Big John Studd for sure.
And he was, I don't remember a lot. It didn't seem like he had really a gimmick or anything. He just was another really big guy.
Big.
And if Andre the Giant wasn't in wrestling at that time,
Yeah.
he would have been the Giant in wrestling at that time. I think.
100%.
Big John Studd was the only guy who could kind of like square up a little bit to Andre and be close. Number 2, I'm putting the Undertaker. Undertaker had a 25-year, 30-year career, whatever it was.
Unbelievable. Just retired a couple years ago, and it was really cool the way it all went down.
Yep. And by the way, oh no,
Still,
this was not
and in his late 40s, early 50s, whatever age he retired at, was still walking the top rope
yeah.
as he would do certain moves.
Yeah. He went through, it's always fun to see all the pictures of like the evolution of the Undertaker, you know, his different styles, the way, the different things he wore. I we'll end up talking about this next week, but his manager was the funniest character
Oh, the
and
greatest guy ever. Paul Bearer was awesome.
Yeah. But it was cool. He was like an intimidating, frightening guy when he first came in, especially because it was all about, he was the Undertaker. It was all about death, and you know, they had the casket matches and stuff like that. They always worked around that. The weirdest one to me was the biker Undertaker as he started getting older.
So that was the weirdest one for you.
Kind of.
That was when he started. I feel like that was when the Undertaker was like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm going to start being who I am a little bit more.
Yeah.
And he got to, and he got a little more leeway with his gimmick, if you will.
Yeah.
Especially because like in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, that, or mid 80s, whatever, the gimmicks were everything in the W. Everybody had a gimmick. There was a red rooster and a, I mean, all kinds of goofy stuff.
Right. So Undertaker's definitely up there, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Andre the Giant is easy. Andre the Giant's number 1 for me.
Yep.
The biggest guy, not the biggest wrestler ever, but the biggest by stardom and size. So there were other guys bigger than him in the past, but they weren't
not many.
But there were nobody as big star wise as Andre the Giant, for sure. All the great stories. There are a couple documentaries about Andre the Giant. If you liked wrestling at all, please watch an Andre the Giant documentary. It's so fascinating to see that guy's life and all the stories that I'll swipe on TikTok and get wrestling stories from guys that were around him back in the day.
He'd drink a case of beer and he'd sleep in the tub because the bed wasn't comfortable or so crazy stuff.
Yep. His flatulence was legendary.
Yeah, I heard that. Yep.
And he farted on people in the middle of matches and stuff on purpose.
Oh, God, so
and gross, yeah. Yeah. Somebody told a story about it. It was like a 2-minute fart or something like that. He just for a very, very, very long time. The 120 beers or whatever, I feel like it's a different number every time.
All the time. The story about when Hulk Hogan got the belt from Andre the Giant. Yeah, like Hulk Hogan telling that story
was that WrestleMania when he body slammed him?
Yeah. So Hulk writes out the entire match, right? It's an hour-long match, and Hulk's got it on. It's like 5 pages of a legal pad. It was like a 45-minute match. And he's like, I think I got the, what do you think, Giant or Andre or whatever he called him? And Andre goes, we'll see how it goes or something like that. Or, you know what I mean? And it was all, but they knew that it was going to be passed on. And he said something to the effect of, we'll just do it how we do it. Or we'll play it as the match goes, kind of a thing is what he told Hulk. And Hogan's like, oh, geez, Pete, this is going to be like so. I mean, because those guys talk during the match, and you didn't know what each other are doing, and the referee's involved with a lot of that. And he said, the bell rings, and he walks out, and they square up, and word for word, move by move, Andre the Giant did exactly what was on that entire legal pad.
Wow.
And Hogan was like, there's no way he had more than 20 minutes to go over that. And it was all in his head and he knew the whole thing.
That's so impressive.
Yeah.
I can't remember one thing most of the time.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. But Andre the Giant, I mean, he wrestled everywhere in the old, when they had the territories. I mean, that dude made all kinds of money because everybody wanted him and he went everywhere. And that giant hair that he had for such a long time was so great. Oh my God. And whatever disease he had, like the rest of his family were just normal sized people. So crazy. Like there's no other big people in his family. It's hilarious seeing the old pictures when they did the Andre the Giant documentary and seeing family pictures from wherever the God's country he's from, out in the middle of farmland somewhere. Unbelievable.
7'4", 520. I mean, you can find different
you can figure out whatever you want to put there, but it's going to be something different everywhere you go. Yeah, no doubt.
That's my 4.
All right. That sounds good. So there's a guy now wrestling Omos, and he played college basketball. I don't know if you looked at any of that stuff. He's getting better, but he at first he's just kind of, he's just big. It's not great watching him wrestle. Do you remember Giant Gonzalez, the guy who like his bodysuit was muscles?
Yeah, I don't remember, but
it looked like flesh. I remember that guy, and I always thought that was pretty funny. Test, you were talking about him earlier. The Great Khali might have been the worst wrestler I've ever seen in my entire life. He didn't do anything. He would just like push people and choke slam people, where they literally, you watch them jump in the air, and he did nothing. He was terrible. Thought all those were good. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now. So I'm going to go. I think we only have one different person in our Mount Rushmore. So in no significant order, I took Big John Studd off. I'll tell you that. I loved Big John Studd, but I took Big John Studd off. And I put in Kevin Nash. I love Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash was, when the Wolfpack came out and, WCW got big and Kevin Nash jumped ship from WWF, and him and Razor Ramon jumped ship, and they went over and they became the Outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were in WWF. What were they when they came over to WCW?
They were the Wolfpack, right?
Well, they started the Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just what it was. But yeah, and they became Scott Hall instead of Razor Ramon. So,
maybe weren't they the Outsiders when they were in the Wolfpack in WCW?
Maybe they were still the Outsiders then.
I forget.
Loved it. So Kevin Nash is on mine. And I was a little surprised. Actually, I take that back. My number 3. My number 3 is another WCW guy that mimicked the Giant. His name was actually the Giant. I loved Paul White as the Giant. He was awesome. And he's that dude. Like he had a kids show not that long ago, a couple years ago. My kids love it.
Really?
It's something the Giant. Like he's a retired wrestler.
Yeah, it was on Netflix, right?
Yeah, I think so. My kids love that show, and I love it. Just seems like a great guy. But I loved the Giant when he got jackhammered by Goldberg. I thought that was the craziest thing I ever saw.
Yep, I remember
that was one of the greatest jackhammers ever. It was the shortest jackhammer ever,
yeah.
But it was a great jackhammer. So I'm going to go with who was my first one I said? Kevin Nash, the Giant, and then I'm going with the Undertaker. You can't not put the Undertaker in this. He might actually be my number 1. I might put Andre the Giant as number 2 and the Undertaker as number 1.
There was I probably looked at 4 different lists of big guys in wrestling history, and the 3 of those lists were from websites that were just
random
something. Yeah. the WWF, WWE.
Yeah.
It's only been that way for 25 years. Actually put out
World Wildlife Foundation.
right. Put out the World Wildlife Foundation put out their like top 30 animals. No, their top 30 big men in wrestling. And it wasn't like necessarily by height, but it was
Just
like
big people. Yeah.
Undertaker #1.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, the guy was around forever, did it all. I still think Andre the Giant, just as what Andre the Giant was for wrestling. Literally wherever he went in whatever territory, he could. They like, yeah, you watch Tales of the Territory, right? Did you watch any of those? You didn't watch any of those. That's a Vice thing too.
Clips.
The Rock is a producer on that. And but like a ton of these old territory stories, they talk about how, like in all different territories, they talk about how if they had somebody they wanted to get over, then when Andre the Giant came, that's who the Giant would fight. And he would lose a lot of those matches, but he would win for, a month or 2 months, and then they'd build it up, and then this guy would beat the unbeatable person.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Andre the Giant would go to the next territory and do the exact same thing, beat up on somebody for 2 months, and then the very last match get beaten. That's how they put people over. That's how they got people over that they wanted. Their big stars, that are their up and coming stars. That's how they would do it. Andre the Giant made Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
he made Hulk Hogan. Without that win, and it's against the Giant, Vince McMahon knew what he was doing.
WrestleMania 3,
something like that. Yeah.
All right, we got. I think I said 7 before. I wrote down 6 guys. Yeah, the 2 guys that were not on mine: Kevin Nash and Big Show or Giant.
Big Show, the Giant. Yeah. There you go.
So I had those guys.
Also liked. You said Test earlier. Test was on. Yeah, this guy was a goober. But I'm trying to think, were there any more really big? I mean, besides the Great Khali, I think about him all the time. He was so bad.
There was a guy, I'm trying to remember his name. It wasn't him. Remember the Oddities?
Yeah.
He was on that, and he was a big giant
Huge
guy.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't remember his name now, but anyway, he was 7 something, 7
huge,
7 or something like that. There were a few guys that were like 7'6", 7'7".
Yeah.
And were
they build one guy's 8 foot. Who knows?
Yeah. That's like the natural disasters. They would be coming down at a total combined weight of 1,378 pounds. Yeah, I mean, those guys would have to be like 650 each.
Not happening. But they were big fellas.
They were big.
When Earthquake and Typhoon came down, you just didn't want to get sat on.
I'm sure I know I've said this before on this podcast, but one of the biggest Earthquake matches I can remember forever in my head, he wrestled Jake the Snake, and I forget, he was beating Jake, and I don't know if he tied him up in the ropes or something like that, but he went down and and he was scared to death of the Snake. Earthquake was, because Jake, I think, had previously threw the thing in, and he ran away, and he got the bag, brought it in the ring, and did his thing where he bounces off the rope or whatever, and comes to the corner and sits on the bag. He sat on the bag with the snake in it.
Sat on Damien.
Oh, I remember that. And Jake was like in agony on the ground. I think he was even crying, like they made him cry or something like that. I remember that.
Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm going to tell you what, that dude right there, craziest life you've ever heard anybody.
I know.
Craziest life ever.
And he was 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, he was on Joe Rogan. So it was like a 4 or 5 hour podcast or whatever. Dude, I listened to the whole thing.
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yep.
And he was supposed to get over one time against Hogan, and he's still all butthurt with Vince McMahon, the way they pulled the plug on his whole movement. They had the whole thing set up. He was going to sell a ton of merch, and because that was a big way. Anyway, I love watching all that stuff.
Jake Roberts he was like almost dead a bunch of times. He was addicted to drugs and alcohol and in really bad shape for a long time.
Yeah.
And then there was the documentary with DDP brought him in and all that kind of thing. He is now like he's in good shape again. Unfortunately,
better shape than what he was.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, but she shouldn't be doing this. This isn't good, but he just recently like showed up at a territory or something and wrestled.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in
some
his like
indie
mid
stuff.
60s
Yeah,
or something.
he's done some indie stuff and to make some money, and it's bad when he shows up.
It's
There's
bad.
one. I mean, they got video of him like when he was going through his bad times, and
but he's like sober now. He just reconciled with his wife after like 20 years of being divorced.
His kids hadn't talked to him in like 20 years.
But I think all that's like way better now. Like he's doing really, really well now.
DDP got all that going, and then they even got Scott Hall.
Yeah.
In there with like both of them worked really hard to get Scott Hall in there.
Yep.
And like Jake the Snake quit multiple times on that. That was a pretty good document. That was a cool little thing they did there.
Yeah.
And Scott Hall. R.I.P. Yeah.
Yep.
Dearly departed.
Scotty's gone.
All right. So there you go. That's the Mount Rushmore of giants in wrestling. Now, my friend, we get to do the Sledgehammer from Tom Segura,
which sounds like a wrestling
on Netflix. Move. It does sound like a wrestling move. Sledgehammer. I think he just maybe likes the song because that's the only time I heard Sledgehammer come out. Unless it's a reference to to one of the jokes about having a big one and a small one, and that's his sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Is that what the reference is?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I
think so.
Must have missed that part.
Yeah.
Sledgehammer. I took notes and I'm reading my notes now, and I'm like, I don't know exactly how. I just started jotting stuff down when I laughed hard, and I laughed hard a lot. Tom Segura is so good. His laugh, his little that little thing he does. And he pushes the line like when he's in the shower with his kid, and he's like, no, it's only because you got a big thing and I got a small thing. It's like, oh, it's only because I'm hard. I was cracking up. He's like, no, I didn't do that to my son. Lots of funny stuff there. I've got so many things on here. And I don't know if I should read all these. So to start it off, when he walks out, what did he say when he first walked out? He's just trying to get the temperature in the room. I can't remember that part. How did that start? It was totally political. And he's trying to get the temperature in the room. Anyway, besides that, so fun to hear the jokes. The beginning jokes are with Brad Pitt. That was good. They took a bath later, but that wasn't gay because they talked about sports most of the time. So it evened it out. That was good. I like that. Man, I don't know what that even is. Didn't get I didn't get the Garth Brooks joke.
So Tom is,
what is the Garth Brooks killing? Like Garth Brooks is a murderer?
I'm pretty sure it's legitimate. Yeah, like there are murders throughout the United States that line up exactly with his tour, with his tours like over the years. Like there are murders that happened in cities that he was in at that time when the murders happened. And then he went to the next city.
So this is
there was a murder.
Thing. This is a podcast thing.
He's talked about it a bunch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he like continues to call out Garth Brooks about that because he doesn't care, I guess.
Well, sure. It's a joke, but there, it's like, hey, I'm just saying.
But he said it enough times, I guess, that and Tom's popular enough
that
it's gotten back to Garth Brooks. And Garth Brooks is like, why is this guy even talking about me? But also, maybe it's a real thing. I don't know.
So I didn't understand that. Okay, that makes more sense now. I like that. The dad on his deathbed about what his favorite thing is. Why'd you tell me? Well, I don't know. Your mother keeps trimming hers. That was funny. I was laughing like crazy at that. Real he hymns. I don't know what that means. Don't worry. Don't worry. We were naked. Man, I hate this. The Pac-Man story was funny with his kid. Scared the death out of him. What is Pac-Man? What happens if Pac-Man wants to buy a house when he's like literally an inch in front of his face when he wakes him up at 3:00 in the morning to ask him that story? I thought that was hilarious. And then the little one is just standing up in bed. Who's that? Oh, that was hilarious. I don't know. There's a lot of funny stuff in here. God, I can't read all of this. One guy that boos was the vasectomy. He's like, every time I talk about the vasectomy, all the women cheer, and there's one guy that boos. The 48-hour record, that was pretty good. I feel like I had the doctor had to tell him. Doctor had to say, listen, I need you to do something 20 times, and the 21st one, put in this cup, bring it back to me, but take your time. I have to tell everybody to take their time. Well, what's the fastest anything has ever got back here? 48 hours. The Joey Diaz stories at the end cracked me up. I'm going to tell you right now, the milligrams that he's talking about, I can't believe that those are all 100% real. However, knowing Joey Diaz, I don't know, maybe it is like you. I feel like you would damn near die.
Yeah. So this guy I work with, he listens to some of the comedy podcasts and stuff. And, the Honeydew is Ryan Sickler's a comedian who has the Honeydew podcast, and I think he's an LA guy, so he's friends with all those guys. He did a series where I don't even think it was planned this way. He had Joey Diaz on his show one time, and he started talking about his life, and Joey Diaz went from like the time he was born, and it was like, this guy keeps trying to get me to listen to this, but it's like 12 episodes, and all the episodes are 3 hours long or something like that.
Wow.
It's something like
First off, Joey Diaz is hilarious.
He's hilarious, and he is the Jake the Snake of comedy.
100%. He's been through some stuff that, holy cow. The stories in his comedy are outrageous. He robs his best friend multiple times and crazy stuff like that.
So he tells stories like from basically every year of his life through this whole podcast. And so they get to like 2 or 3 hours, and he's like, I'm only 4 years old or whatever. So he like has him on again, and he goes for another few years, just talks about all the stuff that happened in his life. And and he was like, did every single drug you can imagine, and robbed everybody on the planet, and probably should have been dead 50 times and probably almost killed 50 people. And I mean, just the craziest life. But anyway,
those were hilarious. That was hilarious how Joey Diaz does all that. He takes one and he's blown out of his mind, and they get on a plane. Joey Diaz goes, I want you to see the devil. I think I'm looking at him. That was awesome. All right. That wasn't the greatest recap because I can't read half of my notes and I don't know what half of it means. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you get a chance, Tom Segura never fails. This dude's hilarious. There's a reason he's at the top of his game. This is like the prime of his comedy career. He kills it every time he walks out there. The story with his mom were funny. Like, I mean, maybe I wouldn't have ended with that. I might have ended somewhere different. It was good. It was hilarious, but I don't know that that was like the closer that he could have used. Outside of that, it was unbelievable. I laughed out loud and hard multiple times, 10 times. 4-7.
Beautiful. 4-7. That's a big number. Good job. I loved it. It was one of those things where I was expecting a lot and I got a lot.
And you got a lot. Oh, I laughed so hard. And because he'll say something and then he has to tell you, no, that didn't happen, something. But like when he just steps over the line, and like, I love that because a lot of times you got something in your head and he goes one step further.
Yep.
And it's like, yes, that's what I need out of my comedy. Something that is way over the top and is definitely not true. And I know it's not real, but that was funny.
You got to think of the worst thing you can possibly say or can possibly think of. And he's fine saying it out loud.
When when he's talking about his wife and she breaks her ankle after the whole deal with him breaking his ankle, and the paramedics there. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Like, this was probably what sucks the most about listening to us talk about a comedy, our comedy segment, is because we tell like a quarter of the joke and tell what we loved about it, but we like, it's nowhere near as funny. Nothing's great about it. Like, somebody that's never listened to that comedy podcast has no idea what's going on. I feel bad.
No, we're just talking about what we liked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he had jokes for his boys, for his wife, for his dad, for his mom. He talked about for all of his friends, basically.
Yeah.
He mentioned
Bert.
everybody. Yeah. So he was, and I mean, he's getting to that place now where he's actually been there for a little bit. He could go, and sometimes he toes the line a little bit of he's so big now, getting really famous and really rich, that some of those guys that we've seen, some of the guys and girls that we've seen get successful like that, they start talking about things that aren't as relatable.
Yes.
And he experiences those things a lot, and he'll talk about that stuff sometimes, like on podcasts and stuff, and it might creep in a little bit to his sets, but he's also pretty good about, like, everybody can relate to family, to jokes about family.
Yeah. I mean, outside of saying, and I paid for the coffee table too, or, outside of that, I don't know that he got into anything really, like, it's everything is relatable.
Mhm.
Every single thing it's the thing we love about comedians, right? When comedians are the most funny, it's because what they're talking about relates to the everyday person.
Mhm.
And when you start talking about how much money you make and you is a star now, and I like, now it's not funny anymore. It's not, there's nothing funny anymore. You're just bragging.
Yeah. Tiffany, thanks for watching.
Was that a direct? Was that a direct? Man, was I that good? Was I that good? Was I that good?
I feel like we were on the same page there. All right. Yep, I loved it. I love the special. He's getting better, and he's as good as anybody else, I think. I think he's as good as Chappelle. I think he's as good as Rock. I think he's as good as Bill Burr and David Tell and whoever else you want to talk about.
Yeah,
I think he's right there with
I put him
everybody.
right there with everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I think all the Nate I still
Nate.
think Nate Bargatze is right there with those dudes too. Like,
agree.
every time he comes out, it is that funny. But yeah, all those guys. I mean, Sam Morrill's just maybe a hair below, but getting, like, I like Sam Morril, but I don't know that he's there. He's definitely that next tier from the really, really, really good. He's that right above on that next tier.
I feel like he and a few other guys like Mark Norman, I feel like, is right there with him too. And maybe even passing him. He's got a special coming out in a couple weeks, by the way.
I think he's past Mark Norman. I like Mark Norman, but I don't know that.
I'm a bigger Mark Norman fan than a Sam Morril fan. I am. I think
again, the guys that can do that many jokes,
I was going to say
that is impressive to me.
They're kind of similar in the way they in like their joke writing, kind of. I mean, they're more they're more kind of like old style guys where they're writing jokes, and it's going to be, now they're doing more like crowd work and stuff. Seems like everybody's doing more of that now too, but it's good. Like, they will write a joke and it has a setup and a punchline, and
there's a big pause for most of their punchlines, and they pause really. They have the time. Their comedic timing is very similar, but the way they deliver their punchlines are totally different.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, you guys, that are on that next tier, that I don't know what it takes all the time to get that next bump, but because there are guys that are way bigger than them that are doing arenas and theaters and like that aren't nearly as funny to me.
I mean, Kevin Hart is hilarious, but I think Tom Segura is funnier than Kevin Hart.
That's an interesting one.
I think Kevin Hart's hilarious.
I just found out that Kevin Hart has another special out now, but it's on Peacock.
Oh, that sounds like
I can't.
a rich guy doesn't really care how it comes out. He's just going to put it on some flashy streaming thing that only certain people can get. Come on, Kevin.
I still love Kevin Hart.
I
still
love
think he's-
Kevin Hart.
I still think he's as funny as him.
When he came out with that pandemic special, I thought that was good.
Yeah, the one in his house.
And at his house, he had his PJs on, and you know what I mean. And I thought that was really good.
It was. All right. 4 or 5 for me, for Tom.
4 or 5. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Nice. I almost said 4-6 and I changed it while I was talking. Went from 4-6 to 4-7.
I went from 4-4 to 4-5.
There you go. We both went up one. Nice. That was great. It was great.
Yep.
Which brings us to next week.
Yes.
So you have you get to go first.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. I'm really excited about your Mount Rushmore. It's going to be really fun because there's so many options in this.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Yep. And it's going to be fun to look up lists of them and say, oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot about that guy.
Yep.
Wrestling managers.
Wrestling managers. I mean, there's one to me that's like number one.
Ooh. I think
there was a foundation.
Okay.
That wasn't even related to him. He just
right.
was lucky enough to have the same last name.
Yeah. Yep. He had the same last name and he had a megaphone.
Yes, he did. He had a lot of stuff. Man, there's so many. There are so many. Very, very excited for that. I now need to come up with a comedy special. Is nothing like usually I do this and something pops up right away, but it's still got Tom Segura up on the very top. So
he's number one.
He is definitely number one. Let's see. What if I click on Tom Segura and see what pops up underneath him?
Oh,
I feel like that's key. Yeah, I feel like that's key. And it's 3 more Tom Segura specials.
YouTube is really good. I mean, everybody's, even huge people are putting their stuff out on YouTube
Yeah,
now.
I know it, and I don't know any. Okay, so that means I got to search something. Wow, I got to talk this out.
Comedy special on whatever you're on. There's it's felt like there's been a special from somebody that I know pretty well almost every other week for a while. There's so many people that have come out with specials lately.
Yep. I'm so bad at this. I should do this stuff way earlier. That's okay. You'd think I would be ready because usually something just pops right up.
I'm trying.
Oh, hold on a second. I know what we're doing.
Okay.
I know what we're doing. We talked about it. I'm going with Amy Schumer's emergency contact.
Oh,
we're going to go. I want Amy to come back into my life. I need a good Amy Schumer special. I need a good one. I feel like it's been about 4 since she had a good one.
Well, she's a mom now.
Yep.
I'm sure she's married and she's a parent now. So
we'll have a lot of sexual jokes still. And probably body jokes. Jokes about her body.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, I'm sure she's got stuff. In fact, I know I've seen the trailer for it, so I'm pretty sure I've heard her talk about her son or daughter. I forget which one she has, but what do you ever do? Like, I feel like I know so many people who have been pregnant, who have had kids, and you hear about it like early on. Oh, so and so's pregnant. Oh, that's great. They're having a boy or a girl, and then forget about it for a little bit. Then they have it, and then it's a boy, and it's this person, and it's this name or whatever, and it's this many pounds and ounces. I don't know why they care about that, and then 2 weeks goes by, and I'm like, well, I know 6 people with baby that just had babies. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember whether they have boys or girls. I can't remember any names.
I feel like I feel like you might be on the FaceTube a little too much. I feel like if you've got a lot of FaceTube buddies, that there's a lot of FaceTube kids popping out, and it's always on the old strolling down the, what's that thing called that on the FaceTube that you scroll up and down on, and it just tells you what all the people you know have done.
Just the I don't know
Timeline.
street timeline. That's right.
So I feel like when that happens, that you're seeing, hey, just had a kid, 6 pounds, 9 ounces. Hey, 24 inches long. Hey, this, all that crazy stuff. I feel like then yeah, it would be very difficult. Me, I don't know anybody that's had any kids.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know anybody. I'm getting old though. None of my friends have kids anymore.
Isn't that weird? You get to an age that like everybody you know starts having kids.
Everybody you know
And then
is getting married.
Yeah.
You go through that stage. And then first you got to go to all the college graduations
Mhm.
of your buddies. And then you got to go to all of the weddings for all your friends. And then they all start having kids.
Mhm.
And then
And they'll stop having kids.
and then I don't know what happens after that. I feel like
You just get
it's
old.
just where we're at. We're just, yeah, we're just old now.
And then you go to their kids' graduation
High school
parties. Yeah.
graduations. Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
There you go. All right. So we got Amy Schumer and we've got emergency contact, and we have the Mount Rushmore of managers in wrestling.
That's right.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah. I can't wait.
So good. All right. So until next week, don't forget to turn your headlights on.